Right. Yeah. I read
We're
through.
live, ladies and gentlemen.
We're live.
We're live.
All right.
Welcome.
What's happening? You want to kick it off at the?
Oh, go ahead.
You want me to? Well, thanks for tuning in live. I guess thanks for everything, right? The comments, the likes, the shares. We appreciate you guys very much. All of the comments that you guys have had. It's been good. It's been an interesting ride. Yeah. I mean, we love you guys. I don't know. What else do you want to say? Let's kick it off.
Let's do it.
You have anything to say? Or you want me to jump in?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off just kind of preemptively.
Well, we got to give the clips of the day.
Oh, yeah. The quips of the day. That's you. You're the quip
Want
guy.
to do them?
Yeah. You're the quip guy.
So today, the theme of what we're going to talk about is going to be tied. Well, there's a few different things, but we're talking about how failure fuels success. But we're not going to go into it in the traditional way. I mean, we'll acknowledge it on how it causes people to, or it prompts people to put more effort in and things like that. But there's this whole other side around how it can fuel success for someone. And then the remnants if you don't address things properly. So today's quips, if you do not process failure, it will travel with you. So if you do not process failure, it will travel. That's a key item. Shame is a terrible moral compass. You have to remember that shame is a terrible moral compass. It affects our judgment and does not produce virtue. And then one of my favorites is that we need a healthy relationship with the truth. Everyone needs a healthy relationship with the truth. I understand about putting yourself in a kind of an alternate state of reality when you're working through something or grinding through something and you have to tell yourself something. I understand that. But we all need a healthy relationship with the truth.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the clips for today. And then as we go through topics, you'll see us kind of reference back to those.
Cool. Let me get you guys a little bit of an opening here to kick us off, if that's cool. So most people say they want to succeed, but what they really are trying to avoid is failure. Not because failure is painful, that part is obvious, but because failure threatens how they see themselves. It introduces discomfort, uncertainty, and the fear that maybe they misunderstood something important about who they are or how the world works. So we work harder. We push through, we grind, and sometimes that helps. But often it does not, because failure does not just challenge our effort, it challenges our relationship with the truth. And when we do not know how to face that truth clearly, failure does not stay behind us, it carries forward. It shows up in the next relationship, the next leadership moment. Today we're going to talk about why failure only fuels success when it is processed honestly, why unexamined failure quietly damages the future, and how forgiveness, especially forgiving others, is the difference between learning and repeating. We aren't celebrating failure, rather seeing how it can really help us. And if you have ever worked hard, cared deeply, still fallen short, and wondered why it followed you longer than it should have, this conversation is for you.
We're really around forgiving ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to forgive others, but this whole idea about using failure to help us move forward, that using it for fuel, it's tied to forgiving ourselves and how we frame things. And if we don't have a healthy relationship with the truth, if we don't have that healthy relationship, we can't really examine what happened well. And then we start blaming other people, we point the finger, and those things are not super productive when you're trying to move forward, when you're trying to have personal growth.
Yeah.
I think one of the interesting things about that is when we're thinking about like how forgiveness works, and that there's a time for grief when we make mistakes, and how that really leads to shame, and where we don't want to take the next step forward because we're too embarrassed. And then once we're embarrassed, how we behave keeps protecting ourselves from that embarrassment.
Yeah.
And so the shame has this kind of compounding effect on us. And so we have to kind of look at things more cleanly, have a healthy relationship with the truth that allows us to process it properly and move forward.
All right, well, let's share a little bit about what people are going to get from watching this. So you want to kick this one off and then I'll read the paradox?
Sure. We want everyone to have just a healthier way to understand failure. So that's what we're driving towards, and not as a motivation, but as information. And when we have failure and things don't work out the way that we need to, just kind of examining how we looked at it.
Yeah.
Because it shapes our judgment, our humility, our sincerity, and everything that goes around that. And that kind of drives a lot of wisdom. language patterns and issues that come up. The way that we go through a difficult time can really mark us.
Yeah.
There's actually something really cool in Scripture where it talks about how Jesus sent out the apostles
Yep.
to go, and share the good news. And if the people didn't receive them, they were told to just leave and go to the next town, but to shake the dust from their sandals before they left. And what's cool about that, and a lot of people look at that as sort of a rebuke of the people that didn't accept you,
Yeah.
right? But I think it has to do more with what do you carry forward? Because if they look at it and say we failed, and then
Yeah.
they have the dust on them, they're dirty, they're going to the next spot, that can negatively impact the way that they process things going forward. So some sort of way of cleaning up.
Yeah.
All right, hey, you went through it. It didn't work out the way that you wanted it to. Clean yourself up, get yourself ready so that you can go on and face the next challenge.
Right.
So I think it's that's my way of looking at it. I'm not saying that is what I've never heard that. It's just, like I kind of processed it that way. And in doing so, it can help us because there's patterns that we have. And do you take the bad experiences that you had with one person, and then you apply that to the next person?
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a director of sales and certain things didn't work out, whatever didn't work out with that first one, do we treat the second one as if they're the first one?
Right.
And is that just? And kind of going through that. And so if we do, that's probably a way to avoid having failure fuel success. It's kind of like you perpetuate the problem. So anyway, we're going to get into a little deeper conversation about that. Clarity on how failure can become destructive. There's a lot of talk out there, and people say, hey, you have to fail, you have to do this, you have to do that. But it's all theoretical, or we have to connect it to something. And so I'm looking forward to our deeper dives on those things, where we have to avoid it becoming shame. We just want to process a failure long enough to get the lessons out of it, right? And once we learn those lessons, we can't keep ruminating over them.
Yeah.
And if you look at what really holds people back is that they spend a lot of time replaying it in their head, time and time again. And that, approaching it that way can be very counterproductive to someone. And we're going to go through a disciplined understanding of forgiveness. This is one of my favorite things. Forgiveness is like a superpower for me. I frame it that it's my way to tell a person that they are more important than what they did, how what they did made me feel. Right? So forgiveness, to go back to a person and allow them to know that they still have dignity, like they never lost it. It's a kind of a human. You're blessed with it. Nobody can take that from you. But people give up their dignity, but nobody can take it from you. And so that idea that, hey, I want to help somebody restore, and I'm going to do it by reminding them that they're more important than the way that they made me feel in that situation. And then a path forward. So those are the different things that I want to talk about today. That path forward, how getting your hands, your heart, and your mind to all work together allows you agency to make decisions that you want. When we're operating out of fear and unwittingly out of fear, we're reacting to a situation, and then there's a lot of things that we'll do that we're not proud of. Yeah. And that can get in the way. So again, looking forward to going through some of these things a little bit deeper.
Cool. I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to read this Paradox 4, and we'll kind of get into it. Cool?
Sounds good.
Check it out.
Okay. I was like, wow, I'm over there too.
You're all over the world, Steve.
So good. He's echoing.
All right. So Paradox 4 is the failure fuels success. All right. I'll give this to you. We're halfway through the paradoxes. So, hopefully you guys are feeling good about this. You're beginning to see how these apply, how you can apply these things to your life to make your life better. Let's talk about failure fueling success here. Failure is often seen as the enemy of success, something to fear, avoid, or even be ashamed of. We replay mistakes in our minds, worry about what others think, and sometimes even let failure reshape our sense of self-worth. But failure isn't the enemy. Failure teaches both endurance and its limits. It forges empathy and range in a great leader. Let's face it, we've been conditioned to fear failure. We've seen people overblow missteps, weaponize mistakes, and use them as proof that someone is less than. This kind of thinking isn't just paralyzing, it's destructive. It teaches people to dodge failure like a poison arrow instead of recognizing it for what it truly is, a necessary step towards growth. Actually, I'm going to read this next one too. But the paradox of failure is that it's not a roadblock, it's a stepping stone. It's not necessarily a sign you're off track. Instead, it's often the path forward. The most successful leaders and organizations have learned to see failure not as an ending, but as raw material for progress. Major breakthroughs, innovation, and career-defining moments always have failure somewhere in their foundation. So I like that you said this. I'm going to stop here and just riff on this. But I think the idea, like a lot of this is why a lot of people just don't start or progress, particularly today. Because everything you see online, I mean, everybody's successful, you know? And so a lot of people, those initial phases are wrought with, even if you're an established company or starting a new initiative, whatever it is, it's wrought with what you could call failure. Things don't work. You're bad at it at first, you know, whatever. And I think for anybody watching this, you know, that fear may be prohibiting you from the next great thing that you could be doing in your life, but you've got to really push through it. I mean, you've got to just kind of accept it as part of the process.
We understand it well, like in school, when we're going to learn something, we're acknowledging that we don't know, and then we read it, we study it, we learn it, we gain mastery over it. My uncle was a house painter.
Yep.
And one time he had a project he had to go bid on, and he was telling me about it. And what it was is he had to paint a skylight. He had to go, and the skylight was long and narrow, and the customer, I guess, had other people come out and give proposals, a proposal to repaint that area.
Yeah.
And they had to build all this complex scaffolding to get up in there and do all these things, and they wanted thousands of dollars. And my uncle came in and said that he could do it for $600.
Yeah. And
so the customer was like, you know, he's getting a great deal,
Right.
and that, are you sure? You know, kind of going through it. And my uncle said yes. And this is going back, you know, this is probably 30 years ago, if not longer. And so my uncle's like, yeah, I can get it done. And the customer left.
Yeah.
And so my uncle took care of it. An hour and a half later, the job's done. The guy comes back and he's like, well, how did you do it? Right. And he actually was trying to negotiate a lower price with my uncle.
Yeah.
And my uncle's like, what are you talking about? This is what we agreed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got it done so fast.
Right.
He said, well, what about the time I put in to solve it? What about all the work throughout all the years to learn how to do this? And the guy says, what do you mean? So he said, well, when you go to the doctor and he's in there for 5 minutes and it costs you a lot of money, are you paying him for the 5 minutes or for all the time studying, learning, going out there, you know? And then it started to make sense. And the guy's like, well, how did you do it? And this is going back many years. And what happened was my uncle, he took a paintbrush, taped it to the end of an extension pole. So instead of building the scaffolding, he got himself in a ladder, the extension pole, right? It taped it, and he was able to cut it in using that instead of building, you know, everything that needed to get up in there. So the scope of work for him was very simple,
right?
Whereas other people were coming up with this elaborate scheme. But all of the years of him being a painter, painters think in terms of moves. Like, what am I going to do in this move and then this move?
Right.
You have to move my equipment around. I have to set up all those things, and so he just had learned how to make that move.
Yeah.
And so it ended up working out for him, but it was a great lesson to me that sequencing matters, like how you process it, what you look at, and then also that whatever experience that you've gained can play a heavy role in how you solve things going forward. Like, what did he bring with him? And through all the struggles and all the different, he never had the right equipment. He never had the right team. But somehow he always figured out how to get the job done. And that ingenuity kind of was born in that. So
that's funny. There's a lot of stories like that. I was listening to a podcast last week. I forget the story, but it was about the same thing where they knocked it out. It was logos. They're talking about logos, and same deal. Like, the guy asked him, you know, how much would this cost? It was a huge price. Then he did it like in 5 minutes, you know. And then the guy was like, "What?" And, you know, the story is like skill and talent. I mean, there's, to your point, it's all the stuff that goes into that often is overlooked. And a lot of it is wrought with failure. I mean, you know, to get to that level where, you know, he had to deal with that situation in the painting, you know, you're not paying him for the lessons learned to figure out, oh, I can just makeshift this. So it's one of those things where a lot of those failures turn into innovations,
Mhm.
But let me continue. To be clear, I'm not encouraging failure for its own sake. I'm saying failure should not be wasted. True growth emerges not from avoiding failure, but from embracing it, learning from it, and using it as fuel for future success. Imagine a seedling pushing through rocky soil. The obstacles it encounters strengthen its roots, allowing it to grow taller and withstand the storms it will inevitably face throughout its life. Leadership works the same way. Failures teach us, refine our strategies, and fortify our character. Learn to process your failures productively, and do the same for others. In the epicenter of failure, our greatest qualities receive the nourishment they need to grow. Resilience, humility, and creativity are all forged in the loneliness of failure. Far from being a signal to stop, failure is an invitation to dig deeper into our purpose, find strength in our vulnerabilities, and build strategies to rise again. Excuse me. Like I'm sure you have, I've faced failures that initially seemed devastating, but ultimately led to breakthroughs. Whether it was a lost client, a failed initiative, or a personal misstep, each failure carries a lesson that propelled me forward. And I think that's an interesting thing, because what you see a lot, throughout, it's almost like what you were explaining. You see so many innovations and things at their finished point, and a lot of times that finished point was not even the original goal. Failure kind of makes you rethink things. Maybe you've got, a path that you're on and you fail. A lot of times if you have the right perspective, that can propel you in a completely different direction, which leads to success, which would not have otherwise come without the failure. So they kind of go hand in hand. It's interesting.
There's some uncommon sense too of around it. So our attorney is this. He is so smart and so good. His name's Tom Semino, and Tom and his firm have helped us with countless different situations. And but one of the things I met with him, and I'm like, hey Tom, here are the things I'm going through. All the different opportunities I have, how I want to organize it, structure it, and just kind of going through everything. And he said, and we started talking about a case we were battling. There was a company that we were supposed to acquire, and then I turned them around, and they became successful, and then they didn't want to sell, and so it was just this big deal that we had to go through. And so Tom said to me, I love it when the attorney on the other side is really, really good. And I looked at him, I was like, what? Yeah, it just hit me a little bit differently. And he said, I love it when the attorney on the other side is really good. And so he said, well, think about it. The people that you waste your time with are the weak ones, the poor attorney. The better the other side is, the better off we're going to be, because that's what's going to get a resolution to the item. There's a reasonableness to the other side, or to that attorney, a reasonableness to our side, and it's going to be easy to work through challenges. And this is kind of the same thing with family. Like if you have a husband and a wife and they're arguing, if one of them is in a really bad spot, is being completely unreasonable and things, the compromise is usually not equitable. It's usually not a good one. It's just kind of a placation to move forward. And so much like with the attorney side of it, that if the attorney on the other side is not very good, you waste a lot of time, and neither party ends up with something that is really acceptable to them. But it's just kind of like a mercy settlement. Like, fine, I'm just done with this. But it doesn't get either party, kind of the key elements. So if you go into something knowing that, like okay, how can I be a better person, even if I'm an adversary, right? So if we're on the same team, great. If I'm an adversary, great. If we're arguing in the moment, great. But you want the other side to be strong, and through that battle, good things will happen. Well, if the battle is just me versus me, and I'm lying to myself, or I'm not, I'm reframing it and I'm poking holes at other people, it could be a real issue. The lowest form of response to a conflict with someone, the lowest one, is to criticize the other person. Right. Even being quiet, you can't say being quiet is easier, because you got to bite your tongue, right? And biting your tongue and swallowing the blood is a lot more difficult than criticizing someone. So when you see somebody criticizing the other person, calling them names, trying to weaken their opponent, it's a telltale sign that person's scared and doesn't know what to do, right? They're in out of their, there's a problem there that needs to be resolved. That is not using failure forward, right? That's not very helpful.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I mean, just that's a great point too. I think it's fascinating just throughout, the way that people look at failures, but going back to the point of the journey, I look at different things like even like post-it notes was a failure. 3M was trying to make some super sticky adhesive. It didn't work and it turned into like post-it notes. You know what I mean? Like depending on which, if you're looking at everything as an experiment of like, what can I learn from this? With the end game of obviously, some objective, but if it doesn't work out, it's like, what are the nuggets that I can pull out of this to either make me better or find a new path or maybe a new product or whatever it might be, from that failure. That's that kind of the healthy way to approach it for sure.
Well, you paid the price.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of are you going to get any harvest out of it?
Right.
So
Right. All right, I'm going to finish this up here. Here's the thing, though. Failure is only useful if analyzed and followed by action, which is what we were just talking about. It teaches leaders to develop a mindset of curiosity instead of fear, to face challenges with courage instead of hesitation, and to see setbacks as pivots, not endpoints. This paradox isn't just about accepting failure, it's about transforming it. By the end of this paradox, you'll understand how to turn setbacks into momentum, mistakes into lessons, and struggles into stepping stones. Because real success isn't about avoiding failure, it's about learning how to rise from it. It's really good.
great.
So that is the intro to Paradox 4. Failure fuels success. Let's go on to
Any
the first.
questions? Well, any questions from the audience, Frank?
Let's see here.
We hear you typing.
Yeah,
Wait,
just saying hi to everybody. A lot of people joining. Just acknowledging them. Just a couple things. Repeat the topic often as we're going through this. So people lots of new people jumping in and out. Know what we're talking about. And one question here: do you subscribe to the fail fast mantra that you hear all these gurus talking about?
What do you think about fail fast?
I do. I mean, but in the marketing world, that's kind of just the marketing world is very much like a casino in a lot of ways. Like you throw a lot of things, except you don't lose with almost anything that you do because branding and awareness and all that. But I think you can really spend your time, especially if you don't have real world data on anything, kind of spinning your wheels a lot. So I think the faster you can move to figure out, is this working? Is this not? I mean, that's probably different when you're talking about technical applications of things. Like you're not going to, I've got a new surgery technique. I'm not going to just like dive in and see what works. Oh, that didn't work. Next one. But I think a lot of things, failing fast is kind of I don't know. I like the thought process behind it. Yeah.
For me, I would say fail forward. Fast, well, forward because that's in the direction of where we're trying to go.
Right.
And so sometimes you have to mine for the forward, right?
For sure.
But the fast part, I guess speed to me is more relative, that sometimes it takes a while for a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go at an inappropriate speed. So if you were asking me speed, I'd say fail at the appropriate speed. And then for directional, I'd say fail forward.
Yeah. That's good.
Great.
Anything else?
Nothing else. I'll be collecting them as we go.
All right.
Perfect.
Well, let's start off with the first. I'm going to read this core episode theme, then we'll get into topic 1.
Okay.
Cool. So here's the. I just want to give you guys a read of what we're about to dive into. So failure does not automatically fuel success. It only does so when we have a healthy relationship with the truth, the humility to learn, and the forgiveness required to stay free enough to move forward. So the first topic is start where everyone agrees.
Well, what does everybody agree about failure, right? Like what's just a common way of looking at it and how failure can be productive? Because we're going to get into some of the nuances, and if we don't recognize the items that people already hold to be true, if we don't give it an acknowledgement, we need to.
Yeah.
And so failure can definitely cause people to train harder. If you just look in sports, there are many examples of that.
Yeah.
Jordan often talked about when he was losing to the Pistons, it was 3 years in a row where he couldn't get through, and so he conditioned his body to take the abuse. It was like he was already the best player, but now is he the best player, able to endure all of that, and so getting pushed in that direction, he became the greatest player ever.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I mean, I think starting where everyone agrees is important. I mean, that's definitely from a leadership standpoint, something that you want to lay down with your team, right? I mean, if there's specific objectives or initiatives, you don't want to be in the framework of like, oh, fine, let's just fail and see what happens. You know what I mean? But like, if it's baked in the cake of like, we're trying to accomplish this, go to work, let's see what happens. That's a different approach, because you can really walk yourself. You don't want to be approaching everything you do with the idea of like, okay, I'm just going to wing this thing. But no, I think a culture of understanding the value of failure is, and I've seen it, it's critically important. I mean, just one of those things. I think, starting off where everyone agrees. I mean, you've got to agree, otherwise, what are you doing? As a team, anyway.
Well, I think another generally accepted principle is just that one of the benefits of failure is humility.
Sure.
Right? That it humbles people, that it helps them recenter, and that we have to have the humility and sincerity to accept it.
Yeah.
And so there's that combination, and again, I believe that people understand that we need a healthy relationship with the truth. We have to have that, and then when we fail, to embrace it in a way that allows that kind of fosters humility.
No, it's good. I mean, some of these key points are really good, and maybe we start sharing these too, these docs, with the audience.
Sure.
I mean, I know it's just interesting. Like, some of these are really great takeaways, but like, failure can motivate people to train harder and prepare better. I think that's a great one. Like, you see that a lot in. I mean, there's just a myriad of sports stories, where.
Is this Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
No, is it literally?
It could be today.
I think, yeah, it's going to be I think it's going to be a short winter. It's like deja vu here. I just made this comment.
Yes, I know. But I mean, like, when you get knocked down or you don't get what you, like that kid from Indiana, whatever his name is, that's a great example. I mean, that whole team was guys that failed on paper, and they just, I mean, I'm sure some people in those situations, they just decide to fold up, or there's an element of personal development if you approach failure the right way.
Well, determination, those are opportunities to show your resilience, determination, perseverance, fortitude. All of those virtues kind of come through when facing adversity. So it's nice to see. And again, these are things that are generally accepted by everybody. Right? That these things are there, and so just kind of paying homage to them. But
breaking news: today is Groundhog's Day.
Oh,
and officially, Punxsutawney, that's the name of the groundhog, has officially seen his shadow.
Oh,
so
wow.
Winter.
All right. We'd have it no other way here.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to. Failure does not automatically build judgment. Just because someone's gone through difficult times doesn't mean that they're wiser. Does not mean that. There has to be this processing of it. And when there's severe failures, there has to be the processing of the grief in order for us to forgive ourselves well, in kind of that fail forward idea. But there's definitely a lot of business struggles or athletic stories that we could talk about here, but I think those are so well worn.
Yeah.
People are already familiar. We don't have to spend too much time on that.
So when you talk about failure, like when you think about your career, like, is there any points where you look back at a failure and how it propelled you forward?
I just don't see failure. Like, I just don't look at outcomes the way most people do. I see my life is the journey, and I want to make the best decisions possible. And so I want to maintain the ability to make those decisions.
Yeah.
So putting on a mask unwittingly, we put on a mask to cope, right? So when we're afraid, it's a human item, it's a signal. And I say, like, I don't like fear driving the car. Very rarely will I want fear driving the car.
Yeah.
But I do believe that it belongs in the car. And so I have to know if I'm going to cope with something and I'm going to intentionally put on that mask and, like, okay, I got to battle through this or whatever. I want to do it wittingly. When I do it unwittingly, and I just behave a certain way in a certain pattern, I'm not necessarily aligned. And when I'm not aligned, I'm going to act out of character. I'm not going to have as much freedom, behavioral freedom or flexibility to do what I think is right. I'll feel a little bit handcuffed.
Yeah.
And so I believe that free will, I try to maintain free will at all times.
Yeah.
I always want to make the decision intentionally.
Right.
And by doing so, if I'm making the decisions, then the outcomes are consequences and things that I'll confront as they come up. But when I worry a lot about what the other person's going to say, think, feel, and do all of that, when I zero in on that, and then let's say I perform to that, and then it still goes wrong, now I wasn't myself. And on top of that, I didn't get the result I'm looking for.
Right.
And now there's this whole spiral down of trying to adjust and modify and all that. You say, wait a minute, let's go back. I want to maintain agency.
Yeah.
I want to be able to make the decisions and do what I think is right in whatever situation it is, not be handcuffed in that way. And so in order for that to happen, you need a healthy relationship with the truth, right? And kind of not be so outcome driven. Outcome in terms of direction, like I want the business to be successful, I want to market it well, or I want to do this or that, whatever those items may be. But I don't want to be so dependent on the outcome for whether or not I did what I should do or shouldn't do. And so again, I know it's a long answer to it, but I'm trying to break people free from that very box that you identified around the failure. If it helped me learn and grow, was it a failure? If it became instrumental in me understanding something at a more deeper level, is that a failure? I don't think so.
Right.
I think it was a necessary building block.
Yeah.
And so I'm just not looking at evaluating outcomes the same way that most people present it, and I just don't see it that way.
No, that makes sense. I mean, I think the perspective is good. I mean, it's the way I think most people want to approach everything. But when you look back, was there any moments where like you let yourself down, or so it would be classified as failure that turned into a success, or was a good thing?
Countless times.
Yeah.
Countless times did not work out the way that I wanted them to.
Yeah,
So if that's what you're asking, where I didn't get the outcome that I wanted, countless times. And then, what do you do with that? And then how do you process it? And what do you tell yourself?
Yeah.
And so there's been plenty of times where my self-talk was ugly, where I like saying that, hey, if we listen to our self-talk, if we said it to a child, sometimes it would be like literally child abuse. We can't do that at a sustained level. Maybe like in a moment or whatever, but the idea that our ongoing self, because I'm a man, I mean, an adult, I'm not a child. I can withstand that. I understand things are imperfect, and I have resiliency, but the idea of beating myself up mentally in an ongoing manner, like I know that's not good and healthy. And so getting comfortable with the truth, acknowledging my imperfection, acknowledging other people's imperfections, understanding that kind of builds in that grace.
Yeah.
Earlier, we were talking about how we had this great attorney who said, hey, when I'm in a case, I want I want a great attorney on the other side.
Right.
And it's so helpful, because then the negotiation in that battle ends up where both sides can be relatively happy with it, or situationally acceptable, right?
Sure.
Where it's not a drag out to the end, because when both sides are strong, there's a strong compromise done and it's over.
Sure.
It's when there's an unreasonable or an underprepared or an incompetent person on the other side where the ugly things happen. And so, I just kind of see it that way.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Should we move on to the next one, or
I
dive?
got a question here from somebody in the audience.
I'm gonna dive into this.
John, how do you personally tell the difference between good strategy and well-disguised fear?
Good question.
Ask the person a couple of questions and you can get to the bottom. It's pretty easy to see when someone's behaving in a fearful way. To me, you just kind of like. So again, this is all hypothetical, but when somebody is. When someone, you can determine, or I'm trying to avoid talking about things in a way that you're diagnosing another person. But when you listen to what somebody is saying and you can sense what they're protecting, just look at what fear drives what they're trying to protect. And oftentimes, when it's with somebody else and it's a relationship, they're afraid of being rejected, and so then they modify their behavior so that they present themselves in a way that they believe will be accepted to avoid being rejected. But this self side of it, like I'm not good enough. I think that's a fear that drives a lot of people
Mhm.
on a personal level, that they're not good enough, and that's that whole imposter syndrome and all of that people face. But when when someone's building out a strategy, you can kind of see, hey, what is it that they're building a moat around, or what are they trying to protect, and then doing so, get a decent idea of what direction they're coming from.
Anything else?
Not at the moment.
All right. And for anyone joining us now, we are talking about paradox 4, failure fuels success. Anyway, we can go into some of these insights, or you want to move on to the next topic?
Well, just when someone just goes through and keeps battling through it to try to make it work, kind of keep going, and they're looking at it like they're persevering, but they're not reflecting through.
Yeah.
They actually become rigid. Like, hey, this is what we're doing, and that's the end of it. And there's not room for thought.
Yeah.
And when there's not room for thought, it can be kind of controlling. And then if we don't call it out by name, if we don't identify that that's controlling, now sometimes controlling needs to happen, right? You and I have a lot of debates around culture, right? Because for me, culture starts with accountability,
right.
Because at the root, accountability, and when one's being accountable, that's how trust is built.
Yeah.
And if we look at the teams that break down, it's often when the lines of accountability are blurred, where people aren't pulling their weight.
Right.
Very difficult. What causes fights within the locker room?
Yep.
When someone's not playing, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Not putting in the effort, not accomplishing what's required. It's not because, hey, I mean, there's the other situations where the guy's flirting with the other guy's woman or whatever, but we're not talking about that. That at the root of a strong team is this personal accountability to the team. Well, that same thing carries forward into our self with self. And if I fall short on something, I need to be accountable.
Yeah.
I need to look at it.
Yeah.
And if I just beat myself up on it, that's no good.
Yeah.
If I pretend like it never happened and move on, that's not a healthy way of dealing with it. If whatever the issue is that I have with the other person that I'm holding on to, I carry into the next relationship, that's not helpful.
Right.
So if you don't approach the things that didn't work out the way that you wanted them to, or this failure, then it's going to stay with you a while.
Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, I don't know if you've ever read Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership.
Never have.
Great book. I mean, but I mean, it pretty much, I mean, he's a Navy SEAL guy, so it's more, badass stuff. But I mean, his whole thing is just owning it, right? I mean, the situations you get yourself into, the decisions that you make, the essence of it is it's all learning, but you can't run from the mistakes, the failures, or things that go wrong in your life. You've got to take a step back and go, how did I just own it? I try to instill this in my kids too. It's like, it doesn't matter what happens. I mean, you can blame people, you can point fingers. At the end of the day, like, what can you do? Like, you got to own it. Like, you're going to stay in that situation, or are you going to go find a different situation? Or are you going to find ways to adapt? Like, what are you going to do? But a lot of people, they just sit back and they just endure the scenarios that they've got themselves into.
Right. Well, trying harder is not a substitute for thinking better.
Right.
Right. Like, to keep forth with the effort, but not thinking about it and trying to find that, not very innovative, very rigid, stuck, not very helpful.
Yeah. No, and he's got a great video. I mean, we can maybe even, link to it or tag him, but I don't know if you've ever seen that video, Frank, he goes, that good video. He's like, good. He goes, it's really powerful. I mean, because he goes through it, he's like, he has all these scenarios, right, where a lot of them are military, right? You ran out of this or whatever. He's like, good. And then he takes a perspective of, give us an opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
This happened to you. Good. It gives you blah, blah, blah. Time to, whatever. And it's a real interesting framework for life. If you kind of take that approach of like, it is a journey. I'm going to make mistakes. Shit's going to happen. Okay. I can either decide that this makes me a better version of myself, or I can just sit there and sulk in it. It's an interesting perspective.
Well, psychologically, he's moving away from the self-anointed victim mentality, right? And so when
hence the extreme ownership, right?
Yeah, and then then you got the clean thinking, processing things straight. Like, it's okay to say, hey, I was wronged in this situation. That's a healthy relationship with the truth.
Yeah.
And then with that, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
No, it's good.
Yeah, if you don't process failure, it's going to travel with you.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Okay. You want to touch on any more of these, or you want to move on to the next topic?
You know, it's your job to take us through. It's my job to add color commentary. So do what you want.
All right. Well, I mean, you've got. I like this one. I'm gonna read this one, even though you've got you here. So grit can delay growth if it prevents reassessment. That's interesting. Effort without orientation increases output but not accuracy. Another good point. When failure is met only with more intensity, people often get better at executing the same misaligned approach. This explains why disciplined people can stay stuck longer than undisciplined people. That's an interesting statement. So what's your thought behind that? Like, why disciplined people can stay stuck longer than undisciplined people?
It takes a discipline to grind it out.
Yeah.
And to put forth that effort and to keep pushing through and that perseverance. And so someone that's disciplined, they're going to give something its due. And if you think about how much has been said around winners never quit, people identify with that label that they're a winner and then they're not going to quit. And they put forth, they're disciplined, they keep grinding away at the item, they stay on that for a while. And if you get somebody that's undisciplined, they just say, hey, this isn't working. I'm not going to do this. And you can actually see the battle between different societal mantras. Like earlier, someone had sent in a comment around failing fast.
Yeah.
Are you able to fail fast if you're a disciplined grinder? Right? Like,
Right.
And these things all compete. People got all these cliches bouncing around in their head, and they can't figure out why they can't move forward. You need sincerity and humility. You need a healthy relationship with the truth. Right? The using the grind movement for you, like using the grind, like it's only sexy to me when it motivates you to put forth the effort. Man, I'm not gonna let them do this to me again. It's like when it focuses you in, I love that part of the grind. After that, all the side effects of the grind, like, hey, ignore your family, they'll thank you later. That whole piece that comes with it, I'm not into that. I'm not into that at all. And but I think that, kind of grinding through things keeps you, like if you just keep plowing in the same direction because you're disciplined, but you're going the wrong way, you're going to go much further the wrong way than an undisciplined person. They'll get frustrated. They don't have the same determination. They're going to seek out a better solution.
No, I like that.
Yeah. There's a statement I've heard before that if you've got something, that really needs to get done, you give it to a busy mom. And then there's another side. If you want something done smartly, give it to a lazy guy, right? Just because they'll find a simple way of doing it. But no, I think it brings out some good points when it comes to moving forward.
Quick question on that note. Go back to your last statement. But who determines the wrong way?
What do you mean? Who determines the wrong way? All of this is self. So when we're talking about successful outcome, for example, according to whom? So I want to be comfortable with the decisions that I make. That's my number one objective, because what that does is it gives me the inner peace. But if my objective is not that inner peace, if it's into something else, like who gets to define what a great husband is? The wife. No matter how much I would like to own that definition of that and describe myself, no matter how much I might want to do that, I've got no say in the matter. Zero say in the matter. And who gets to determine what a great employee is? The employer. Sorry to all the employees out there, you're not able to determine it. But who gets to determine what a great employer is? The employee. Right? So you kind of go through things and say, from what point of view? What we're talking about here is personal agency. Like, I want to maintain the right to make the decisions that I believe are best in that moment. I want to reserve that right to be myself. And whatever the consequences are or the outcomes are, that I'm confident that I can face them when I'm strongest. If I'm being me, when I'm being me, I am at my strongest. It means my hands, my heart, and my mind are working together. There's no other time that I'm stronger than that. And in that, I want to be in that condition to face the most difficult things. And so who determine whether or not the move is the right move or whatever? I get to determine it for me, and you get to determine it for you. But if you work for somebody else, they might be able to pass judgment on it, but that inner piece is, am I comfortable with what I did? Do I like what I did? Would I do it again? If new information came in, I reserve the right to change my mind. I made the best decision I knew in the moment. I will deal with the consequences. That's part of the reason why I say that men shouldn't lie. Say what you believe to be true, and then deal with the consequences. And then whatever those consequences are, deal with those in the most honorable way you know how. And then whatever the consequences are for that, do the same thing. I just have lived long enough to realize that no matter what my intention is, someone's going to take the item the way that they want. No matter what it is, they're going to take it the way that they want. They're going to twist your words. They're going to add their fingerprints to it. And it's not always done intentionally. Sometimes it's just what happens inside of their processing. And so I worry a lot less, and it sounds like I'm being selfish. I worry a lot less about that. And I feel I worry a lot more about me making sure that I'm comfortable with what I did. And when I'm comfortable with what I did, I'm strong and ready to face the consequences. When I haven't, and it still doesn't land, so I modify my behavior to perform, and then you don't receive it the way that I intended, that I modified it. Now all of a sudden I'm having a battle that I'm not really being me. I was a modified performing version of me to try to get you to do something. And then now it's, we've opened up a whole world of problems.
Interesting. Okay. Let's move on to topic 2. You got
Anything else?
No, that's a great answer.
Okay.
So topic 2, how failure carries forward. Failure travels when truth is avoided. Unprocessed failure does not disappear. Without a healthy relationship with the truth, it carries forward and damages future relationships, decisions, and leadership.
For sure.
No, I like that. I mean, and you see that a lot. I mean, to me, that's just habits are hard to break, right? That's an easy one, right? I mean, when again, I've spoken about this before, but I always think of it in terms of patterns, right? It's very hard to change a pattern, but you've got to decide, do you have it within you to change that pattern, or are you just going to continue on the same pattern? It's very simple, right? I mean, if you're doing something that's not giving you a good output, a good result in your life, that could be everything from fitness to business to you name it, just look at what you're doing. What is that pattern in your day? Literally map it out from, I wake up at this time, I do this, and you'll find, is that a person that equals this person or result that you want to get? Chances are it's probably not, or you need to beef up some skills or whatever the case may be. But, a lot of people just get in these patterns and they're very hard to break out of. So, to your point in here, it's just, you're never moving past the failures. It's just like you just keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over again. And boy, that gets difficult fast.
My kids like little video games, and so there's this one, and it's called 2048 or 2048, and it's basically all these numbers that just keep doubling. It's a 2. If you connect 2 2s, it turns into a 4.
Right.
And you have to remove blocks, and you can only remove blocks when you combine 2 like numbers. And so I saw my son playing it. I mean, he's going super fast.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa. And I'm like, how are you thinking about that? What is it that you're doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just moving around my fingers fast as I can. And, and it was working, and he did okay. So I started playing it because I'm a logic puzzles guy, right? I love logic puzzles.
Yeah.
So I started going through it, and I just kept using my logic, and I kept setting new high scores, but I kept I felt like I was hitting a wall. And then what I did was, you can go up, down, left, and right.
Yeah.
And up, down, left, right. I'm like, I'm going to switch it. So I just came up with this. I'm like, I'm just going to move left, right, and down. I'm going to eliminate up, and I'm going to be able to control my blocks.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was the highest score already.
Yeah.
I hit a whole nother level, right? Because it's like each number to 128, 256, 512. You get to the 2048. Well, I hit 4096. Then I hit, the 8,000 and change. Then I hit the 16,000. I didn't even think it was possible.
Yeah.
Right. But it all came from changing the way that I went about it. I knew what my normal pattern was.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to stop using all 4. I'm going to reduce it down to 3.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it in this other way. And that's what I did. And
Interesting.
it worked. So to get out of the pattern, there has to be the courage to move forward and try. Well, where does the courage come from, and what's in the way of courage? If I'm carrying around all the baggage from everything else,
Yeah.
and it's weighing me down, and I feel bad, and I don't have the confidence and all of that, I'm not going to try something.
Right.
But I knew I was already really good at the game, and this was my way of trying to become extraordinarily good.
Yeah.
At the game, and so I think that failures, if taking the lessons from what happened and applying them forward, can be really helpful, so long as you process the failure.
Yeah.
Like, I realized that when I would go up for whatever reason, when I would go up, low numbers were getting the bottom where I had all my big numbers.
Yeah.
And I could never clear them out. So I'm just establishing a rule. I'm not
Right.
going to do that. And that was wildly helpful to me.
That's
Another
hilarious.
question along these lines. When failure threatens who you think you are, not just what you're building, how do you navigate that?
Well, that's a great point, because what people do, and it's a mistake, is they take their whatever it is that they do for a living, and they turn that into what their identity is. But that is not your identity. That's simply what you do for a living. And our identity is like this combination of strengths and good that was like, it's like the human dignity we have from birth, and we maintain it our whole lives. And so if you identify as what you do for work, then any type of pushback on what you do feels like an identity attack. And that's a very ugly, dangerous position to put yourself in. So I would say that, we have to learn to separate the situation, the task, the item from the person. So the Bible teaches this around separating the sin from the sinner. And it's like, take the action and separate it from the person. We shared one time around how someone stole from me, and it was a friend. I did all kinds of things to help him and his family, and so I get, the first pass that people have is, how could he do this to you after all you did for him, and did all that, but I just eliminated the second half of the sentence and just said, he stole. I eliminated the from me part of it. He stole. What kind of person steals? Who would take something from someone else that doesn't belong to them? And it's like, okay, that person feels less than. Okay, a person that feels less than, what's the limits to their behavior? Almost nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And then we kind of go through and say, all right, I'm going to have this framed in my head that I understand what he did was wrong. I'm not justifying it. I'm not doing any of that. But I'm going to be able to move forward, because I'm not going to personalize it. I'm not going to take that as an attack on me.
Yeah.
So separating the action from the person, and then separating the action from me, so I can look at it more plainly. So I'd say if you're finding yourself identifying as your work, any criticism of the work feels like an indictment of you. And then if that happens, typically you start to build a fortress around it. The people start attacking the other person, the other person's ideas, because they want to weaken the opponent, because they feel like this extreme level of fear. And so those are some of the things that I look for if I'm arguing or debating with somebody, and I see them go into the self-preservation mode. Wait a minute, they're taking this as part of their identity, and that's a very unhealthy position for the other person.
Yeah, I think looking at it from an outside perspective, if you can get your head in that space, has been helpful for me. No matter what the situation is, when you're in it, your personality, your ego, everything is so involved in what's happening. When you kind of take a bird's eye view of it, you go up high and just look down at it. If it wasn't you and you were giving a friend advice that was going through that, some clarity can kind of come from that. You remove your attachment to yourself of like, God, I've got to protect this, whatever it is. And you just say, man, what's going on here? It kind of gives you some perspective on, this is the advice I would give. It's very helpful.
We need a healthy relationship with the truth. And shame is a terrible moral compass. We just keep kind of going back to those points. It's avoiding the truth will distort our thinking, right? We can't. And so, like, being able to separate from something, we're not telling a new story. I'm not saying that the person didn't steal from me. I'm saying I'm not going to focus on the from me part of it. I'm going
Right.
to focus on that the person stole.
Right.
And then now I'm able to approach it in a little bit more intentional manner.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to be strongest when I'm being myself. I'm going to have, when I have that inner peace, when my definition of a good man is leading the charge and my hands, heart, and mind are all working together.
Yeah.
And so again, that healthy relationship with the truth is critical.
Yeah, and tough. I mean, you find very few people that are really clear on that. You see this a lot in business and politics where, and this phrase is not new, but where two truths, two things can be true at the same time, and you see that all of the time, right? So it takes a special kind of person to kind of cut through that noise and say, what is the real truth here? What is really happening? So, even in, I'm not going to get into recent situations, politically, et cetera, but you can have somebody that, makes a really stupid choice, right? And then the response or reaction is equally probably inappropriate or stupid. It's like, what is the truth here? Is it true that, the situation, whatever, where you see two things where the perspective of those two people, they would say that their truth was whatever and in conflict of one another and ends up going nowhere. There's no one that independently is looking at something and saying, both of you guys are
What
right.
do you mean by that? Where their truth?
So, like if someone sees a situation, we're live, this really matter. I'm talking about like the situation in Minnesota, like is really where my head was going, right? That guy that was murdered or killed, whatever. Like there's two sides of that. Politically, that's how it works. Politics is politics. We have somebody that, in my opinion, that's where like two things can be true at the same time. Would I recommend that guy go in there and, be involved the way he was? Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that the responses are appropriate? Probably not, right? So who's right here? It's almost like a collapse, a perfect storm of people that are just so hung on to their identity of whatever the situation is that no one takes perspective of like, this is just completely crazy.
Well, yeah, if you want to control people, you just make it identity politics and let them go.
Right.
But what I was trying to lean into was when you were talking about people's different truths.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people say, well, my truth is this.
Yeah.
And I want to just say, like, unabashedly, that is absolute garbage. I know that a lot of people have that, and I would love to have a debate on that with people because the truth is not owned.
Yeah.
The truth is just the truth.
Right.
And then our interpretation and use of those facts and the way that we process it, that's something different.
Right.
But the truth is not owned. It is not owned. It is something independent.
Mm-hmm.
And when people use that phrase to try to like they end the self-reflection because, well, that's my truth.
Right.
And then they stop the processing of what really happened and going to get to the bottom, and they stop the gold from coming in, and they start to build the facade, the identity, and all of those other things that are destructive for people.
Right.
So just, that would have been a great quip of the day for us to kind of keep in theme, right?
Yeah.
The truth is not owned. So there is no your truth. There is the truth.
So how would you apply that to creative endeavors or even art?
How would I apply it?
Like I see something and my truth is like that.
See right there.
Amazing.
No, that's your opinion.
Right.
That's not your truth. That's your opinion.
So would that be a situation where there is no truth?
What would be the truth? It's red if it's painted red.
Right.
It's blue.
Right.
It's this size.
Right.
It's whatever the item. And then, hey, what do you see in this picture? I see an elephant. You see a tiger.
Right.
Okay, those are just facts. That is what I see. This is what you see.
Right.
Right.
But I think you're introducing interpretations of the truth, right?
No, I think John nailed it.
About art, that is the interpretation of one's view of that piece of art. For them, it's true. They interpret it that way.
Right.
Right. So that's what I think he's saying is.
Well,
I'm saying that blurring the definition of words is how the devil works. Right. What is the word? Good used to mean pleasing to God.
Right.
Bad was not pleasing to God.
Right.
Now good means what I want,
right,
and bad means what I don't want.
Right.
So that we got to be careful with language. If we start making the truth something that's flexible, something that moves, we're destroying things. That just it's an opinion.
See, that's another good point that you brought up. So, like religion would be a great complex situation for that, Like where one person's truth,
No, a person would say, I believe this to be true.
right? But
Not as they don't own the truth.
right. So it's more of a personal truth,
No, then you're calling, again, you're reducing what truth is
right?
down to being an opinion. A
Right.
truth is bigger than an opinion.
Sure.
Right? And then the
Yeah.
opinions, this is how I process that information.
Right.
And
No,
this
I'm
is
with
what I
you.
believe we should do about it. And if this is important because when we separate the items out this
Mhm.
way, then we're able to process what we should be processing.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
We're evaluating things for more cleanly.
Right.
And we're not saying like here, my daughter. I'm going to make this up. My daughter gets a report card,
Mhm.
and she's doing outstanding in math, and she's doing poorly in language arts.
Mhm.
Someone might say, well, she's a terrible student,
Mhm.
and apply this label because she's capable of doing so much more in
Right.
language arts than she is. Right?
Right.
She's a terrible student. She has that. You could say all those different things, but what would be true? The true statements would be both together. She's doing outstanding in math,
Mhm.
and she's struggling in language arts,
Right.
not performing near her potential. Those things are just true statements.
Right.
You see, they're not mixed in with an opinion that says, well, she's a little girl, and hey, we just haven't really spent time on her homework, but she's got the capacity. We'll get.
Sure.
That's all noise. But do you see how the truth is? Her grade here, her grade there, and this is what this item is.
Yeah.
It's plain, and that's people have a hard time separating facts from opinions from what we should do with it.
Mhm.
And we spend a lot of time in videos. People go back and see because we've dug really deep on some
Mhm.
of these things that I don't trust somebody that conflates those items. I want the facts
Mhm.
separate from your interpretation of them, separate from what you think we should do about them.
Mhm.
And if you don't know how to classify those things, if you don't do it and you blur it all together,
Mhm.
you're going to get run over in a conversation with me because I'm going to expose the shortcomings of your interpretation
Mhm.
because you put it in like it was a fact. Wait a minute. How could you say that she's a bad student? She's getting a great grade over there.
Mhm.
Well, what about that her grade's poor in language arts? Yes, but you put it all together
Mhm.
and presented your opinion as a fact.
Mhm.
Why, if you want to present facts, great in math, struggling in this one, right? And her effort hasn't been there, and she hasn't turned in an assignment, or whatever that case might
Mhm.
be. Share the facts. What do you think we should do about it?
Mhm.
Right? What is your opinion? I don't think she puts enough effort into school.
Mhm.
Right? So what do you think we should do about that? Establish set times for her to study. Right? Those are separate items.
Yeah.
But when they get all put together, she needs to have set times to study. She's not really putting forth her effort,
Right.
and she's not getting good grades.
Yeah.
That's how people present that stuff. But if you can isolate it, sorry for the long diatribe on that, but it's really important. We do not own the truth. The truth is not owned. And when someone says my truth is this, that's a signal that they are shutting down from the evaluation. They are afraid to confront the topic any deeper.
Right.
They're afraid to go there, and it's probably tied to their identity. And I would just encourage people not to do that or spot it. And then you could be respectful around it.
Yeah.
You're not diagnosing the person. You just say, hey, it seems like I hit a sensitive subject here. This is what my intention is, and kind of go through and try to get the conversation back on track.
Yeah.
So somebody writes in here, Bryce writes, truth is coherence with all that you know.
Truth is independent of what we know. Our opinions will be based on what we believe and what we know. Like, so what do I think we should do in this situation?
Mhm.
Takes my experience, if I let it, and I process it and I decide. But then a new fact comes in, it changes.
Mhm.
Maybe it changes what I would do, right? And the way that I would respond.
Mhm.
If someone came in and they were starting an argument, and I might argue back. But if I find out that the person's got a gun, it's loaded, and they just found out that their wife was having an affair, with that fact, I'm going to change my behavior.
Mhm.
But I can't say that it was truth the first way and then truth the second way. It's not a new truth. It's just the way that I process that and the way that I respond to that is going to be different based on the facts that I've processed. Which is, again, I know I'm being very distinctive here,
Yeah.
but we need a healthy relationship with the truth. The truth is something that we do not own. It's not like I'm saying we need a healthy relationship with with something I own,
Right.
saying that the truth is independent
Mhm.
and I need a healthy relationship with it.
So, like, I understand the nuances of like truth and opinion. I think that's a great point, right? Because that's where I kind of get caught up, everyone's experience and everything. So, aside from like that's red, that's a dog, whatever, like what would you consider like a grounded truth? That's not an opinion.
What is an objective truth? Like
Yeah.
just all of the elements of it, whatever the elements of it are. Any grading of it
Yeah.
or interpretation of it, I like it, I don't like
Uh-huh.
it, those are me statements.
Right.
This makes me feel this way. That's how
Right.
it makes me feel. We could look at the same woman
Right.
and you be attracted to her and me not.
Right.
What's the truth? Is she attractive or not?
Mhm.
Depends on who.
Right.
Is it a good employee? Ask the employer.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Is it so? It's that perspective that gets to make their own personal call on it.
Right.
But if that person is not a good employee for me,
Yeah.
but would be a great employee for someone else, are they a bad employee? Right?
Right.
For me,
Right.
they're a good employee for them.
Right.
But I'm not taking. It's not a fact that they're a good employee.
Right.
It's just that the combination with me
Yeah.
is what that process is. But it's not.
Right.
We're not independently grading that person.
So it's your truth.
No, you don't own the truth. It's your opinion.
Right. So what I'm saying is where I'm confused, like, so what is like a grounded truth?
The ones that you just try to deny. What color is it? What shape is it? What size is it?
Right. Right. No, that I understand that. Yeah. Everything else is nuanced to me. So it's just it's a tricky one.
Like what happened? A fact is
Right.
that the person was hit by the car, or that you brought up the situation in Minnesota.
Yeah.
The person was shot.
Right.
That's a fact.
Yes.
The week prior, he spit on an ICE agent. That's a fact.
Right. Right.
He kicked in they said that he was in the middle of a mob and he was getting thrown around and all that.
Right.
No, the people were driving away. There was no one around him. He started kicking the car,
Right.
broke the taillight. They got out and they threw him to the ground.
Yeah.
Like those are facts.
Yeah.
Those you got.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, those are factual items.
So it's when you kind of avoid the facts. That's what you're saying. Is where
You know what's interesting about all of this, and I don't want to go political on it, but yeah, and I mean I didn't mean political. I was going to say religious, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to go there. But but it's there's like for Christians, there's the word,
right,
and then like how that all kind of plays out, and what I'm saying very much aligns with that.
Yeah,
that these things that we know, when we touch something,
mm-hmm.
we blemish it. It's no longer like if I said something to you, like whatever I say to you, you process it.
Right.
It's not like you're a robot and you repeat it back.
Correct.
You process it. That processing puts your fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
Your fingerprints on it has distorted
for sure
what it originally was.
Yep.
And so I'm saying I recognize that I'm a person, and whatever I touch, I distort.
Right.
So whatever fact it is, I can distort it. So I want to make sure that I'm leaving it pure. Here's what happened.
Yep.
Here's what I think about it, and here's what I think we should do about it. And that purity in process allows me to have a lot less situations where I feel like, well, this is my truth.
Mm-hmm.
This is my, like, no, I don't own the truth. The truth is independent of me. I'm going to respect the truth.
Yeah. So what do you think about, like, this key point here? Failure can turn into resentment or blame.
I think that statement stands on its own.
I think it's more common than people tend to admit. And this, I mean, I go back to like extreme ownership. It's like it's very hard for people to admit shortcomings in any area of life for whatever reason.
If they attach their value to it.
Right, which most people do.
If I got a bad grade on a test, does that mean I'm a bad student? Right? Why I could say, no, I didn't get a good grade.
Right.
Well, why not? Well, why not, John? Well, I didn't put forth the effort. Well, you should have put forth the effort. My grandfather died that week.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather died that week.
Right.
I was pulled out of school. It was a scary time. There was lessons that I had not yet understood.
Yeah.
And then I was there grieving with my family. So I didn't study and I didn't get a good grade on the test.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not justifying it. I'm saying all of these things are true.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things would be true. And so, like kind of having that way of looking at it, that
Mhm.
that I'm not going to beat myself up because I didn't get a great grade.
Mhm.
I'm going to process it and say, hey, what could I have done? Whatever that might be, I'm going to endure it,
Mhm.
go through the process so that I can pull what's good there and move forward.
Yeah.
Earlier, I was talking about how there's scripture where that is often interpreted that you shake the Jesus sent out the apostles, and they went out and they didn't have any money, any change of clothes,
Mhm.
or anything like that. And if you think about it, to be sent out without having anything means that someone else has to take care of you,
Mhm.
right? Now, what can you do if you went into a strange area where you didn't know anybody?
Mhm.
What could you do that would make those people want to help you clean your clothes, feed you, and give you a place to stay?
Mhm.
Now, we think about this. That's how they were sent out. And so you have to deliver value to other people. You have to be good.
Mhm.
You have to give them something that would be good and helpful for them. And
Yeah.
so to be thinking about things through how you could be something positive for them is very, very helpful.
Mhm.
Now, what happens if they don't receive us well? Shake the dust from your sandals and go on to the next town,
Mhm.
basically. And so people took that, or often take that, as a rebuking of those. And maybe there's some good value in seeing that as a rebuke.
Yeah.
But I really believe it's for the person that he was telling.
Hmm.
If I shake the dust from my sandals, like, let me leave all of the remnants and all of the dirty stuff behind. Now, I learned the lessons. Let me have that clean,
Yeah.
but not carry forth the dirt and bring this dirt into the next town that I go into.
Yeah.
Let me not bring that chaos or garbage forward.
Yeah.
Now, if we think about a relationship, whatever happened in this old relationship,
Mhm.
whatever happened there, I want to learn lessons from it. And then going forward, I want to apply it. But I can't treat this next person as if they're guilty of what person A did.
Mhm.
I have to leave that dust behind.
Mhm.
I have to leave the failure behind. I have to leave the hurt behind. I have to leave a lot of those things behind. But I have to allow the good of that. I have to seek out the good, weave that into into me,
Yeah.
and bring that forward. I think
No.
that's a critical element. Failure can be a weapon used against ourselves
Yeah.
and against others. We have to be very mindful of what we do with failure.
No, I like it. Any questions, Frank?
Uh, is failure always a bad thing?
I think the whole episode is that it's not. That
Short
there's
answer,
all
no.
kinds of positives
Yeah.
that come from failure, that they're necessary, that the time spent studying and getting a bad grade, even though you put forth a ton of effort, and going back and having that failure in the class and studying, staying in, self-sacrifice, all of those things have the opportunity to pay off later on if you let them.
Mhm.
And so again, I don't think of failure as, like, if you want to look at the outcome in the moment, fine. You did not get a great grade on that test. You failed it. You got a B. You should have, and you're an A student. Whatever that is, fine. I just want to be comfortable with my decisions. I
Mhm.
want to be doing these coherently.
Mhm.
I want my hands, my heart, my mind to work together, and I want to face situations in that manner. That's when I'm at my strongest. Some difficult challenges faced with me being my strongest, I'm going to feel a lot better about what I do.
I like that. Okay. Let's move on to topic 3. Forgiveness and forgiving ourselves.
Well, you know what?
Yeah. You can go back.
We didn't talk about how avoiding the topic.
Okay.
We didn't talk about that, like how avoiding it doesn't make it go away,
I like that.
right? So if the dust isn't shaken from the sandals,
Yep.
it stayed with you. You didn't process it. Like, you have to process the items. You
Yeah.
have to go through and recognize, wait a minute, there's dirt here.
Yeah.
Let me shake it off before I move forward. So like avoiding it or avoiding the discussion, doing those things, that does not help.
Mhm.
So people can go through. I say, hey, it takes just about a year to get a year's worth of experience,
Mhm.
right? But some people have done the same thing for 10 years
Yeah.
and only have 1 year worth of experience, right?
Right.
They don't process what happened. They don't kind of go through
Yeah.
those elements, and it's a necessary piece, but definitely that avoidance doesn't replace failure.
Yeah.
And it removes the failure, or let's say it differently. If we can just think about failure for a moment as being that we put forth a bunch of effort and we didn't get the desired outcome.
Yeah.
Like if we can look at it that way, like we put forth this effort and we did not get the desired outcome. If we don't review the tape, we don't harvest any insights on it,
Yeah.
we're going to be in a position where we're probably going to repeat a lot of those mistakes.
Mhm.
And so in order to get that, we did not get the desired result, but we can still get the desired lesson. And so we got to review the tape, kind of run through it, get ourselves set forward so that we're in a condition for the next spot to be good. Like when the marriage ends, if the person right away jumped into another relationship, we all say, oh, it's a rebound, it's not going to work. We say it automatically because we understand that there's a processing of what happened. There has to be a grieving period. And when people jump into the new relationship, that new partner doesn't want you to grieve the other person because now it's like, what about me? I'm here and you're grieving that, but it's a necessary part of the process.
Yeah.
In order to move forward, we have to gain comfort with what happened. We have to say, okay, it didn't work out the way that I had wanted it. Here are some of the things that I've learned. I have to somehow close that chapter to be in a better position to move forward.
Right.
But people don't do that. But we all know that that's an extremely risky way of going about things.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
Okay. So, yeah, definitely. That the avoidance gives failure more power. It doesn't process it into something being good.
Question here. If you had to choose between clarity and momentum, which do you think actually reduces failure long term? Maybe just repeat the question and the answer.
Clarity is going to beat momentum long term in so many situations. I mean, the momentum does not require thought. And so if we're trying to get our mind, our hands, our heart, and our mind to work together, we need all three. And so if we're just using momentum, we've basically have said we don't need to use the clarity says I got to actually stop and think about it. And to think about it, I'm going to examine these elements. If I just go off of momentum, my decisions aren't as intentional. And so if they're not as intentional, do I get credit for the good? And do I get credit for the parts that don't work out the way that they're supposed to? There's a separation of me from the decision. When it's momentum driven, there's a separation of me from the decision. And in separating, then there's like a kind of like, I don't own the outcome. I don't own the experience. And that, I don't believe that's very helpful, especially not long term. Now, riding the wave of momentum, the team's winning and you keep feeding the ball in and they keep scoring, you ride that wave of momentum, but clarity is much larger than momentum.
So the second part of that was, which do you think actually reduces failure long term?
Clarity, because it aligns. It's clarity is pushing for your mind, your hands, and your heart to align. That's what clarity does. Being clear on it is understanding that I need to be my strongest in order to move forward, and that inner peace is going to come from that. Momentum doesn't take all of those things into consideration. So momentum is something that you want to build in the direction of your alignment, not first. The momentum you want to have happen after the alignment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd also say on that, like if you're not clear on like whether it's a goal or whatever, you can easily get momentum that feels like momentum going in the wrong direction. And you can do that in many aspects of your life where you're because you're not clear on what your truth is and what
there we go again.
Yeah, what your who you are all about. You can easily get moving in the wrong direction. Feels like momentum. I mean, in case of point, like this is a myriad of celebrities, right? Tons of momentum. At the end of the day, you realize clearly in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it can feel great in the moment, but if you're not really grounded in something that is, who you are and your beliefs and your ethics and your values, again, it can, you see it time and time again. We get a lot of momentum and it looks sexy for a moment. And then you realize, oh, I might not have wanted that momentum.
A lot of people struggle. Well, because they take these mantras again, like take massive action.
Right.
Well, if you take massive action in the wrong direction, you're going to go pretty far the wrong way.
Right.
And it's like when people grab onto that because, hey, this guy accomplished this and he says take massive action,
Right.
therefore it must be right. No, there needs to be a refinement of the direction. There needs to be this clear, way that you're trying to go,
Mhm.
and then put the energy behind it. So like the energy can actually cause having energy, momentum, a big push in a direction can be very destructive to
Mhm.
somebody if it's pointed the wrong way. There has to be that thoughtfulness that, hey, I'm completely aligned in this. I'm all in.
Right.
Let's go. But if it eliminates that step, I think it's dangerous.
I agree. Good. All right, let's go on to topic 3. Forgiveness and forgiving ourselves. So forgiveness preserves freedom under failure. Forgiveness is a disciplined affirmation of dignity. It says you are worth more than what this failure or offense cost me, including when the person is myself.
It's my mantra that when it comes to forgiving someone, it's my way of saying you are worth more than that transgression made
Mhm.
me feel. You are worth more than what that cost me. And helping someone restore their dignity, because they gave it away. We
Mhm.
can't take it from them.
Yeah.
Helping someone restore their dignity that they pushed aside is a powerful thing that you can do for another person.
Yeah.
And it's rightful. It's like that's creating order. There's this tranquility and order, right?
Yeah.
There's things are peaceful, and it's kind of like inner peace. People talk about peace. It's not something that you pursue. Like peace is not a destination. It's a signal that you're aligned. I have inner peace when I'm aligned.
Mhm.
But what is, like, if I'm seeking out a peaceful, situation? So many of these peaceful situations are really not like peace treaties. They're more
Right.
like ceasefires.
Right.
Like, you get them to stop having the battle right now, but the battle was never resolved. It was
Yeah.
just a temporary ceasefire.
Yeah.
And so the idea there is to kind of push towards actual resolution.
Yeah.
And that's when we can acknowledge that a person is worth more than their transgression. Doesn't mean to disregard what they've done. We don't forget it.
Yeah.
It's like it's woven into whatever the situation is going forward. That we respect the truth, right? That we understand that there's truth there, and how we go about moving forward. I just think it's a beautiful way. Now, there's things that people can say that we're not giving the full definition. We're giving a portion.
Mhm.
It'd be paragraphs and paragraphs long. It's a very complex topic, but just generally speaking, the direction of forgiveness is that.
Mhm.
The direction of that is kind of that person is worth more than the way that they made you feel, and in restoring their dignity, we're doing something positive.
Mhm.
Now, what should we do if we're with someone that's abusive and we're looking
Yeah.
out for what's good for them, and like, hey, what's the best possible thing I can do for that person? What's the best possible thing I can do for that person without violating myself?
Yeah.
That's the measure. Like, at what level should I forgive?
Yeah.
To me, forgive at the level where it's the best possible thing for the other person that you're willing, that you can do without violating yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a key part. So if someone says, oh, John, well, what about if someone's abusive? Well, I don't think it's good for the abuser
Yeah.
to have the person that they're abusing proximate to them. So no, I think there needs to be a separation. I don't
Yeah.
mean the best thing for the abusers to keep having the person that they're abusing, close to them. No, absolutely not. So we're not going to get lost into these
Mhm.
silly ways of trying to pop holes in it.
Yeah.
Like, look at it like, what's the best possible thing for that person that I can do
Yeah.
without violating myself. That's doing something to someone's own measure. There's a parable in the Bible where there's servants, and they were each given a different number of talents, and then they had to produce with it.
Right.
And the idea is that I'm going to be judged on my conscience, and
Yeah.
then I'm going to be judged based on what I'm capable of. So if I'm capable of doing something well, like if I'm able to forgive at a level of 9,
Yeah.
but I do it at a 7, and you're capable of doing it at a 5, and you do it at a 5, you're actually doing things within the proper measure,
Mhm.
right? Because you're not expected to do more than you're capable, but I'm doing significantly less than I'm capable.
Yeah.
So doing things to one's own measure. So it's not around, forgiveness isn't independent. It's what level am I able to forgive at? So for me, what's the best possible thing I can do for the other person without violating who I am? That's where I want to be. That's like the great balancer of measure for me.
I like that. I'll read this statement because I like this. Forgiving yourself is not lowering the bar. It is picking it back up without breaking yourself. I mean, that's a big one. I mean, I think a lot of people would learn a lot from forgiving themselves. It's something that a lot of people just carry throughout life. Everything from regret to bad decisions to relationships, whatever. It's almost like, it's hard to forgive yourself, I think. It's one of those things that's very difficult for people to do.
It can be a challenge.
Yeah.
And we have to look at what are the obstacles of forgiving ourselves. There's certain fears, there's certain feelings, shame. Earlier we said that shame is a terrible moral compass.
Yeah.
Right? As is fear. Fear and shame are two terrible compasses. They can distort a lot. And then our behavior becomes more performative because we're afraid of the interpretation by the other. So we do things for a certain outcome, and then we don't get that outcome. It starts to spiral. And a beautiful way of talking about despair is that it's not the worst sin, but it's the most dangerous. And if someone's in that kind of condition, it's really tough to move forward. And so that's from them to them, right? That is a condition that, based on the way that they're viewing their situation, is that there's no hope.
Right.
And so that's a very sensitive item. How can we help people not feel that? How do people kind of escape that? And to know that they have value. So when we talk about forgiveness, them knowing that they have value, that's just like because they're a person.
Yeah.
God knows every hair on their head. And he blessed them with their strengths and he blessed them with their weaknesses. And if we could see it that way and say, hey, like I matter because I matter to him. Now that we can, and then other people matter because they matter to him too, it kind of restores that basic order that all people have value. And then now that we've established that, if someone is not forgiven, now not everybody needs to forgive everybody. We don't have that capacity.
Yeah.
But the idea that what forgiveness can do for someone is to help restore their dignity that they threw away and they don't hold value, that's crucial. And so, hey, no, I forgive, and I want to tell somebody, hey, you're worth more than the way that made me feel. And I want you to know that. And then I'm putting them in a position to move forward and start to shed some of the shame. Hey, did you learn some important things here? Yeah, I learned this and that. Okay. And so what are some of the things you want to do to help break that habit and get into the better pattern? And you're able to coach and assist someone through it. But shame, despair, those are not things to, those are not things to mess with.
Is there anything else on this topic you want to touch on?
Anything from the audience?
Not at the moment.
Well, I want to hit on that self-forgiveness restores our ability to decide for ourselves. So if I'm acting shamefully, I'm not doing what I believe is best. I'm following the lead of shame.
Yeah.
If I'm in an ugly position, I don't want to make decisions in that manner. I need to be able to move towards that. Hey, what do I believe is the best thing to do in this situation? I have to be able to do that. So if I'm unwittingly wearing a coping mask, I want to know that I put it on.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm weighing the situation, saying, hey, this fear, I need to weave this into my solution because of whatever I'm afraid of. So I want to put on that coping mask intentionally, know that it's on, and be paying attention to what's happening, rather than putting it on unwittingly. I've lost agency. I'm just doing it out of pattern. I'm not thinking about it, and then I'm in that tough position. It's like, this wasn't my intention. I didn't really think about it, and I'm facing all of that conflict. So forgiving ourselves is a fast track to being able to retain or restore our personal agency.
Like that.
Anything
Good,
from the
Frank?
audience, Frank? See you typing away over there.
Yep. Just looking through.
You know what, Steve? Maybe what you could do, is kind of go back and just read some of these items from topic 2.
Okay.
Just read them back to everybody so you can capture those points for the people that are just joining us now, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So I'm gonna read you guys some of these key points from topic 2 here. So failure can turn into resentment or blame. Avoided truth becomes distortion. Past failures show up under new names. Failure can become a weapon against others. I'm solo, Frank.
Yeah, so tell us, Steve, have you ever experienced failure in a way that's impacted your career and made some positive trajectory changes?
Yeah, I've experienced, a lot of failures, over the career. I mean, I think it's just part of the process. It's one of those things where the older I get, especially when you have kids, it's one of those deals where you look at them and the advice that you give them oftentimes. I mean, I do it a lot. My wife and I would joke. It's like, maybe we should follow the advice we're giving, our daughter, because you give some really good sound advice when you're in that position of wanting to help somebody, through failures. And it's funny because even when my daughters were younger, you don't want them to go through anything too difficult. But, I always would tell my wife, like, man, there's times where it'd be nice to see them take it on the chin just to learn how to bounce back. And there's parts of you as a parent where you want everything to go perfect, right? In life, you want your kid to be, the healthiest, the most popular, the most successful at this, getting all the awards, being super happy and chasing their dreams. And at the same time, you realize that, as an adult, that's just not how life works. And it's like how you adapt and move from it. And so it's funny because sometimes when I do, give my kids advice, and then I go through something, I'm like, man, I'm not even following the advice that I'm giving my own kids. But failure is one of those things. I mean, you learn it in a myriad of ways. But I think the process of continually learning and owning the decisions that you make is tremendously valuable if you want to come out of that better.
Yeah.
Then you kind of look at everything as an experiment as opposed to a failure, so to speak.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes
sense. We have a question here that I think it's interesting and relevant to forgiveness here. John's back. All right, so why do you think we're too quick to forgive others' failures, but take years to forgive our own? Repeat the question, the answer.
I don't know that everybody is quick to forgive other people and not forgive themselves. I think people struggle with both. But some people, it is a lot easier for them to forgive other people because it's an outward act, and usually those are well received. You forgive someone else, you move past it. There's some sort of a positive response often. But the one that happens between our ears, there's really no high-fiving. So
yeah, I think it's more common, than not that people forgive themselves actually than other people. You come from that perspective, and it's like, there's a part of people that the forgiveness almost makes them feel like you won. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to forgive you. And so, the hardest thing for people to do is look at themselves and their faults and their fears and their, shortcomings. I mean, you see that throughout life. That is the toughest. If people were more aware of, themselves and held accountable for themselves, a lot of problems would be solved very quickly.
Well, I think, again, it goes back to what's love. What does love mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
what's love have to do with it?
Well, we're talking about self-love. And we're called to kind of see the good in another person. So if I see the good in another person, if I desire them in obtaining the missing good, and I remain hopeful that they're going to obtain it, I'm able to see the person in the appropriate light, right? See the good in them, desire them to get the missing good, and being hopeful that they'll obtain it. That's critical. That is critically important.
Yeah.
And then even for ourselves now, do I see the good in me? If I don't see the good in me, it's going to be a real problem, right? If I don't desire myself to obtain the missing good, that's going to be a problem.
Right.
And if I'm not hopeful, again, that's going to be an issue. I like to teach this to management, to anybody that has to manage another person. I say, hey, what impact do you think it would have on my daughter if she did not believe I saw the good in her.
Yeah.
I think we could all say it would be devastating,
Yeah.
right? What about if there were things that she didn't know, good that she didn't have, um, and I didn't want her to get them? Like I didn't desire her to get that the missing good. What impact would that have? You know, and then what if I wasn't hopeful? Because hopeful looks a certain way. There's like a cheering on of, you know, like this like looking forward to that hopeful, you know, brings about. And so I believe that would be destructive to my daughter as well. And so if my child that I love, that sees me as an authority, doesn't believe that I see the good in them, that I desire for her to get the missing good, and that I'm hopeful for her in obtaining it. Well, it's the same thing for a manager. Like if I have someone that's on the team and they don't believe that their manager sees the good in them, what's the impact? And you can kind of go through this thing. And so definitely seeing the good, desiring the missing good, and being hopeful that they'll obtain it, that those are critical elements. And if we're looking at ourselves through that positive lens, we can acknowledge shortcomings because they're not tied to an identity.
Yeah.
See, it's when we identify as something, any touch on it is like we have to defend ourselves. It's like they're touching armor. It's really piercing the armor.
Right.
But why can't we just look at it objectively? Why can't we just talk about this item for what we're really trying to talk about? The truth. Why do we have to have this layer on it that's unnecessary, that distorts things? If it's like a father has a family business and he gives it to his sons, and then the father has to pick one person to run it. If the father picks one, what do you think? What if one of the sons says, "No, you got to pick between your sons"? Like the father already has a difficult enough task, and that means you picked him. That means he's your favorite son, and you've always given him preferential treatment and all of that. Or can it just be, well, he thinks that this is the best one to run the business? You know, but if somebody says no, him picking someone else equals he doesn't love me, he doesn't think I'm any good, I'm a piece of garbage, and I'm going to fight that all the way to the end. Well, look at what that person brought to that discussion. They didn't bring the truth. They didn't bring that. They brought all of this other stuff that was tied to their identity, and it creates a destructive conversation. You got to change that pattern. You have to break that pattern so that everybody can move forward. And that's going to be uncomfortable for people. But you have to see the good in yourself and then see the good in other people as well. And you're pointed in the right direction to be an effective part of a group.
I like that. Okay. You got anything, Frank, or should we go to the next topic?
Hit the next topic. I have one question here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So topic 4, we're going to talk about like what else must be present for failure to fuel success. Failure requires learning, humility, and sincerity. Failure only fuels success when it is processed honestly. Learning, humility, and sincerity are non-negotiable.
I learned this lesson. It was like, God loves you and he forgives you. We just need the humility and sincerity to accept it. And I think that's kind of what we're facing here, that humble is not self-deprecating. Humble is just our rightful position, our rightful position, like we're like being there, and then sincerely embracing that. There's so I'm Catholic, and so we have confession, and there's other Christians that say, hey, and in our format, we have to go. And it's a sacrament to us. So we go and we have to pray. We speak with a priest, and we confess our sins and that, and we're given some sort of penance and afterwards that we go and act upon. Well, a lot of Protestants come back and say, well, I don't need to confess to another man. I don't need to say this to another person. I can speak directly to God, and they kind of go through that, and it makes sense. And so the thing is, it's like, well, no one's saying that you can't. It's just that having this formal process, like when you're telling somebody else the things that you did wrong, there's usually an embarrassment, right? There's usually that kind of feeling, but to generate that compassion for yourself inside, and the courage to say it, like it takes incredible courage to say it to another person, it requires humility and sincerity. And when we're doing things in a humble and a sincere way, good things happen. And so one of the things that I say back to the Protestant folks is just to say, well, have you ever asked a Catholic how they feel after they go to confession?
Mhm.
And there's this relief and this like they're ready to move forward that comes
Yeah.
from that. And so what we're talking about here is I'm not saying, hey, you have to go out there and do that. I'm just trying to show that being sincere and humble in a situation really kind of creates the right environment for that sincerity and humility to thrive, which allows us to kind of take our failures and use them as fuel for success.
Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, I wanted to talk about like shame shuts down learning by distorting proportion. Like, I mean, some of the things that are woven into this. I mean, it's so true. I think the perspective on life and kind of owning your, not being so attached to the ego. I mean, so many people would just they'll white knuckle it all the way to the end. And it's so much easier just to be like, okay, that didn't work, or I did this wrong, whatever the case may be, and looking for how's this going to help me grow. But you find more often than not, people are just going to white knuckle that opinion or whatever all the way to the end. Where then failure just becomes a blame game.
Failure or the blame game is, again, the lowest form of response a human being can have to conflict, right? To attack the other person.
Yeah.
It's the lowest form. Sometimes, people like they're going at it really hard,
Yeah.
like that intensity. Like people do like to see this significant amount of effort, but just because you're trying hard doesn't make me trust you more.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's an element, but
Yeah.
sincerity. When I see that someone is sincere, like to me, we need a comfortable relationship with the truth. And if we're denying the truth, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so being sincere requires that we're looking at the truth. It's a requirement.
Yeah.
We can't be sincere on something that's fake, or something that we don't believe to be true.
Right.
And then it's like we're manipulating. So when we have that sincerity, people know it's there. They might be afraid of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid of sincerity. They're afraid of the truth. They're afraid of it because, again, we got to go back to how they identify with whatever that item is.
Right.
And if you start touching on it, it means all these other things to them. Like winners never quit. If we go and say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, right? And then all of a sudden, no, that's because that means that this is true and this is true and this is true. No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean those things at all.
Yeah.
You're telling yourself that the way that
Right.
you're attaching your value to it. And I think, again, these are some of the things that are in the way for people to move forward. That's our company's core value, is to move forward. It's our fourth core value, and what it means is that, of course, we have to make progress, learn, develop our skills in that, but it's really tied to forgiving other people. Like we're in a business where a lot of people are going to let you down.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it is. Like we're in the service business, and someone's going to not show up. They're going to run late. They're going to whatever it is. There's going to be issues that people have, and then they're not going to want to communicate forthrightly. That's a whole nother set of issues. So we're going to be interacting with humans. So we have to understand that we're going to need to forgive them because they're going to let us down. But more importantly, we're going to have to forgive ourselves. If we don't forgive them and we just make everything absolute, they can't move forward. We'll just, replace that vendor, replace that, you just keep firing everybody. So we need to be able to both acknowledge what they're doing, in a healthy way, and move forward. And that's the more difficult part to me, or more important part, is really forgiving myself. And as I forgive myself and I know what it takes to do that, I'm in a better position to forgive another person. I actually forgive better that way.
Sorry, question here on this topic. Do you think forgiving your failure gets harder the more successful you become?
I don't know why someone would ask that question. I mean, like, forgiveness, if you're in the beginning of your career, the end of your career, anywhere in between, like, it's a struggle for people to confront themselves. And so I think it's easier as you're later in your career because you have more experiences in it. I think it's easier in the beginning of your career because you haven't had all these experiences that that have tainted you. So I think the hardest part is probably in the middle of your career, because that's where the stings have continuously happened, and you haven't matured through the process to develop your skills to cope with it and to move forward.
Yeah. What do you think about admitting limits increases authority?
Admitting limits?
Admitting limits increases authority.
Because you're telling the truth.
Mhm.
When people say they can do everything, do you trust them more or less?
Right.
You know?
Right.
I don't have anything profound to add to that
Yeah,
one.
no, anything?
No.
All right, let's move on.
How are we doing time-wise?
We're at 1 hour and 45.
Perfect.
Oh. Topic 5. What gets in the way of forgiving others?
Steve, before you jump into that, why don't we recap
Okay.
through the topics that we've already talked about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Starting from the actual overall topic.
Okay. All right, so today we are talking about paradox 4, failure fuels success. I'm going to go through these. The first topic that we addressed was start where everyone agrees.
Well, starting where everyone agrees was just acknowledging that there are so many things to failure fueling success. There's so many things already out there. We were going to talk about some of the nuanced ones, right? Like we've already had a bunch of back and forth that are argumentative, right? And I didn't think it would be smart of us to not acknowledge the basics. Like, let's get those basics out of the way. So, hey, failure is a great motivator. Gets people to focus, put in the work, do all of those things. So we're not challenging and getting in the way of those, but we are trying to find a more nuanced view that unlocks potential for people.
And then topic 2, which we addressed, was how failure carries forward.
Right. If you don't process what you went through, you could repeat the same issues over and over again. And if it was a painful lesson that you went through and you didn't process it and take the gold out of it, you can go repeat these painful lessons. And people sometimes go through many, many years and decades of their lives never really addressing what happened. And they end up living in this self-anointed victimhood manner. And, it's like, wow, all kinds of opportunity to live a better life that they didn't seize. And so I think that's an important topic. And
the third topic we touched on was forgiveness and forgiving ourselves. Big one.
Yeah.
And then, did I already read the fourth one? What was the fourth topic?
What else must be present for failure to fuel?
Thank you, Frank.
It was about humility. We were talking about humility and sincerity, and that by making sure that we maintain humility and sincerity, or pursuing humility and sincerity in our situations, that we're creating the right environment for forgiving ourselves so that we can move forward and process of failure properly. Like we need a healthy relationship with the truth. If we don't have a healthy relationship with the truth, we can look at things, be highly feeling shame. They're shameful. We can have lots of regrets, and they can get in the way of us making the right decisions. And when they impact our decisions, it's like they're deciding. Our fear or our shame is deciding. And that's why I say, like, hey, that's fear and shame. They're terrible moral compasses. They're good in that they can help us learn and study and understand more about what we're facing and how to overcome it and how to build proper boundaries around ourselves and things. That there's some usefulness to them. But if we don't pursue that kind of sincerity and humility, it's going to be tough to create the environment for us to move forward and to see a failure properly.
I think that's good. This is one of the last topic. Topic 5. What gets in the way of forgiving others? Unforgiven failure freezes the future. Failure cannot fuel success when resentment governs the future. Forgiving others is often the hardest and most necessary step forward. I agree.
Yeah.
So let me touch on a couple of these key points to kind of fuel the brainstorm here. Forgiveness is not trust or access.
Yeah, forgiving someone doesn't mean that you trust them. And forgiving someone doesn't mean that they maintain the access to you. It's simply saying, hey, you are worth more as a person than how this made me feel. and you need to know that.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean I'm going to continue the relationship. That doesn't mean that I'm going to trust you. It doesn't mean any of those things.
Mhm.
It's simply, and that's what people do. They tend to conflate things and make, well, if I forgive them, that means what they did was okay and that we're going to carry on.
Mhm.
No, it doesn't. We need a healthy relationship with the truth. That is not what forgiveness is.
Yeah.
Let's go back to, what is that? What is that item?
What do you think about boundaries and justice can coexist with forgiveness?
There are two things that are not opposites, but they work in conjunction with one another. And then like justice and mercy.
Mhm.
And so there's a phrase that's justice without mercy is cruelty. So if we looked at absolute justice, what
Mhm.
should the price be for somebody who violated us,
Mhm.
right? And if we just look at justice and we don't temper it with mercy, like if we don't bring the human component to it,
Mhm.
like if it's just an absolute, hey, that machine doesn't work the way it's supposed to, I'm going to discard the machine and move on. Like
Yeah.
if the car doesn't work anymore, nobody wants it, they send it to the junkyard, they take it apart for parts. We're people. We don't get sent to the junkyard, right? That's not what happens. We have dignity. We're people, and so it doesn't mean all of these other things. It's just
Mhm.
like taking a situation, valuing the life, giving, trying to forgive the person so that they can move forward. That's like we're trying to help someone move forward. If I'm unable to do that
Mhm.
for you, if I'm unable to forgive you because of my own limits, and I'm not capable of forgiving you at that level, I have to recognize that that's a limitation within me that I'm going to respect because I'm expected to behave to my limit. Like, what's the best possible thing I could do for you
Mhm.
without violating myself, without violating what I believe,
Mhm.
and that's the right measure for that item.
No, I like that. I'm gonna read this one.
So I'm sorry, I just
Yeah.
didn't really like the whole justice and mercy thing. That if it's absolute, it's a problem. But if we ignore the rule, that's a problem too. So the other part of that phrase is that mercy without justice is dissolution.
Yeah.
So if we destroy the societal structure like that by just leading with mercy, 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 well, that's not good
Yeah.
because we don't know. Like it's hard to know how to behave
Yeah.
when there's no structure. And then on the other side, if we don't take into consideration that we're people and that we've got a lot of things that have happened to us and that we are imperfect by design
Mhm.
and all that, and that when something that happens that we don't really want to have happen, it's actually an opportunity for us to do something extra loving. Like I talk about it in a way where I say, hey, poverty, financial poverty, Jesus says that it's that they'll always be with you.
Mhm.
And now, in the context of when it was said, there's some clear meaning. But one of the things that I took out of it that's added value, that's an uncommon sense of it, or I've never heard it before, other than my own interpretation, based on what I've experienced in my own life and in my own struggles, is that like people that are poor financially are like a blessing.
Mhm.
And when it's like a promise that we'll always have them, because nothing really activates love your neighbor like seeing somebody hungry that doesn't
Mhm.
have enough money to eat and things. And you see that struggle. If you see a child that's hungry, we're going to feed them, even if it's
Mhm.
our sworn enemy. We talk about that a lot. That no matter what, there's a tenderness inside of us for another person
Mhm.
that's struggling. And so I don't believe. But I'm grateful for um, struggling mightily financially in my life, and I'm grateful to be on the other side of that and
Mhm.
being able to assist those folks while preserving their dignity, not making them grovel, not making like just helping them because they're a person that's in need
Mhm.
and showing them that they have value. I think that's critically important. And so justice and mercy should work together for someone, not against them. If I'm so merciful that you destroy the rule and you think it's no big deal and you can get away with anything,
Mhm.
well, that's not really good for you.
Mhm.
So that's not the way I should behave. So if I'm overly merciful and it's destructive to you, I shouldn't do that.
Hmm.
If I'm overly just and kind of holding you to all these, if I do that too much, it could do destruction to you too, and that kind of feeds that you're not good enough and all those other things, which is dangerous. So I have to look at what's the best thing I could do for you without violating myself, and when I use that as my guide, I'm going to make a lot of good decisions.
Oh, that's great. You got anything, Frank?
Yeah, but nothing quite on topic. I don't know if you want to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really, I mean, that's great.
Frank's making me think it's something funny.
You can read it. It is funny.
No, we got a lot of funny ones.
Yeah.
Would you like to paraphrase?
Yeah. So I'll loosely. He said, "Do you have any? I really love your content. I was wondering. I have a question about the late financier from New York whose initials start with a J."
Mm-hmm. No comment.
No comment. That's what I said. Yeah. Got some comedians in the.
I love it. I love it. That's for a separate show.
Yeah,
I don't know. You want to take us out with closing statements, or you want to talk some more? I think this was great. How long we got in one here?
We're at 2 hours. We're at 1:55. So
Yeah.
I do have one final question here. This is a good one to kind of wrap with. How do you forgive a failure that has real consequences for other people?
How do you forgive yourself of a failure?
How do you forgive a failure, which probably means like if somebody failed you to a point that had real consequences for other people?
I think it's all the same. Like it's getting the right framing and trying to do good for the other person. And like if something happened, so it occurred, it's a fact. This is what this is the situation that we're in. No matter what happened prior, you're always the next step that you want to do is make the best decision you can in that situation. And I'm saying that's a perpetual state of how we are. No matter what happened, whether the outcome was what I desired or not desired, right? No matter what I'm facing, I want my next step to be the best move. So if I believed X and I learned that Y was true and not X, like I don't want to keep going back doing things the way that I used to. I want to make my next decision including the Y bit of information. And so just kind of saying, I always want to be able to I always want the freedom to make my decisions. Always I want to maintain the freedom to make my decisions and maintain someone else's freedom to make theirs. We're talking about really free will. And if we start trampling on someone's free will, it's really dangerous. Now, there's certain situations where there's an authority, a parent, whatever, and they're just making the decision. That's what it is. It's like we're not talking about those cases. I'm just talking about adults interacting with other adults on things. The more you can do to maintain someone else's free will, the better. Now, if they're abusive, if they're abusing themselves, if they've got addictions and other things, we're not talking about that. Like let's not move this into some sort of silly talk where, well, what about this situation? Well, what do you think we should do in that situation? Like we're not applying this common discussion points around the situation that people face most often. Those are highly nuanced, and those a lot of times require outside assistance. There's a real need for outside help in building coping skills and in enduring what someone's going through. And these difficult situations aren't common that a lot of people go through. So definitely a nod to the folks out there that are professionally helping people build the skills that they need.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up. Give a little.
Yeah, the failure fuels success when it's met with truth, humility, and forgiveness. We had it as our closing statement. Otherwise, it doesn't disappear; it travels. Like we don't want you to keep that with you. We want to be really good at converting what people view as failures or outcomes that we were not pursuing, and try to find a way to review those, take what's good, leave what's bad, and move forward. So which heavily involves progress.
Yeah.
Healthy relationship with the truth.
All right. Give us kind of a wrap out. Where can people find the book? if they want to pre-order, all that stuff. I'll put the link in the notes.
Take it
As
away.
soon as that's ready, we'll put it out there. The book comes out March 3rd. Embrace for Impact. It's the second book in the series is almost done. So super excited about that. There's an assessment that we're going to provide as well to anybody that buys the book can go online and take this assessment that shows them what their primary coping identities are. And then we've got the manifesto launching pretty soon as well. So a lot of super exciting things that we're going to be putting in the calendar in the next couple of weeks.
Cool.
All right.
That's a wrap.
Thanks, everybody.